What's going on, ladies and gentlemen of YouTube, and welcome back to, well, Dave's World. And today we're going to be taking a look at the real great Sazabi before we break it down and put on all the metal parts and all the photo etching. So without further ado, I'm going to show you all the parts broken down. We're going to put it together, take a quick look at it, and then, well, go from there. Now, first of all, if you're wanting a great detailed review, I'm going to put a link to Mecha Gaiatsu's review down here. He did a fantastic job on reviewing it. This is going to be Dave's half-ass probably review, but I hope you guys all enjoy. As you can see here, I have all the parts laid out. We have the fin funnels up here. We have the shield. We have all the weapons built up. We have the shoulders with all the parts opened up. We have the chest with the head, the backpack, both legs, both feet, both arms, the gun, and all of the hands besides what's attached to the arms. So let's get this all out of the way and get started. All right, I know this is not exactly the best dark on dark, but this is what we got here. We have multiple hands going on, and there's some of these that I really like. So you have this trigger hand for the gun, much like high grades. These break apart so that you can put the gun in, but these have a hinge on here, as you can see, like this, that pops in the socket, so you get a great range of mobility with these. Now you get, I think there's 3 total hands. You get hands to hold beam weapons, of course the gun holding hand. You get 2 open hands like this, and I really like these fingers on these. Some people don't like them. I really do. It just gives it almost an organic feeling to the hands. These do not have the mobility like those others do. They're just straight pegs. And you get 2 fists. Now, taking a look at the gun on here, this is pretty sweet. This folds back, but I'm kind of confused as to why it doesn't fold back all the way. It just seems kind of awkward, and it doesn't lock in to that position. I would like it if it did lock in. You've got the clip that comes out. Nothing in the top. You actually get a cocking mechanism on the gun. You get these nice accents, which I threw some panel lining on there. You get some spots of red along it here, and then you've got all the decals. I did end up putting the decals on just for show. We'll end up peeling those off later. Now, taking a look at the weapons here, I really like these beam effects. The camera doesn't pick it up as well, but these are very fluorescent. I think if you threw just a little panel lining on here just to give some separation into those effects, that would give it just some great. You've got some separation on here as well. It just give it more depth, and you can attach either one of these. They just plug in and off, so you can swap around as you see fit, but you can also attach this to the inside of the shield and have this coming off the shield, which I will end up showing you here in a little bit. Speaking of the shield, here it is right here. I put the decals on, and I think one of the best decals that came with this is this gold foil or gold decal that's on here. I really like that it's not super shiny. It's a matte gold, but I think it looks really well, even as stickers. You can see the metal foil stickers that are on here that accent throughout the whole kit. On the back side, I did not panel line the whole thing, but you can see all the details that are on the inside. You get some separation in here, almost looking like venting with that metallic touch right up in here. Of course, you have the attachment for on here for attaching to the arm. There is some adjustment like on the master grade of up and down on here, though it's kind of tight. So if you're wanting to attach the weapons to the shield, you're going to have to take this off for it to actually fit properly. So on this, you can just set it to the side. You can put the axe down on here on the tip. You can either have that on, swap them out, put those on, and or if you want overkill, you take one of the beam weapons, stick in right there, and now you got this badass sword thing that really reminds me from Halo. But once you're all done, you just restick that back onto there, which are some missile pods, and that's what you got. Now, taking a look at the arms, they do open up pretty simply like this, and I think there's a way to flex out the wrist, and it's super hard to get in there. You can kind of get in there like that to extend out those wrists for more mobility. You do have these other beam saber kind of tips that go in here, but they don't really do anything. You could technically stick the beam saber weapons in there, but it's not really going to look that effective. You get so much mobility out of these. I think you get more mobility out of these than you do in the master grade. You can see that flex that's right in there. You actually get another point right up here that's going to open up just like that, and it's going to allow you to move up and down a little bit, so you can stretch that out. It's not a whole lot, but it lets you open up to that slot and give you a nice bend like we have on this one over here. Or if you want to shorten that down a little bit, you just push it down, lock it back into that new spot, and you can see the difference in between. It's not a whole lot, but gives you a more flex, like if you wanted to pick his nose or something. I don't know. You can see the metal accents from the foil decals. That just closes down. Majority of the parts are all undergated, which I think is a nice thing. One difference between the master grade and this is you don't get that open up where you have the thrusters in the arms, but everything seems very stable, and I haven't had any issues with the shoulder joints. You just have to be cautious when pushing them together and moving them around so that you don't snap off that peg. I'm not sure if the camera picks it up, but you do get good color separation between the darker red, the lighter red, darker red, lighter red. I really like how they ended up doing that. You've got the grays, you've got the blacks, and you have enough details on all these little underside parts that you can just detail this till your heart's content. All right, and yes, I've done some sanding on this just to even out the parts. It was a little off on some pieces, and I just kind of leveled them out. You can see on here where I've kind of flattened it out to get rid of this seam line that's right there. It's kind of ugly. You can see how bad it is on this one and my sloppy paneling. Now, as far as mobility on here, you get a heel that is mobile that will come down. You get nice movement down this way. You get movement down in the toe. You get movement in the shield piece for the ankle. You get movement like this if you have them in a standing or crouching position. You can pretty much get any position that you want in this. It's really, really nice. You get side to side. These attach into the ankles. You get side to side. You get forward and back. Like I said, there's so much mobility into this that it's just crazy. Taking a look at the shoulders, I really, really like the shoulders. You can see how these pods, or how the shoulder pieces open up. You can actually fully flip them up. They are nicely detailed on the backside. You've got thrusters on here, and I think if I'm correct on the metal parts, that there's actually thrusters that go up into here. That replace in along with these, much like the master grade has. For these, they just fold down. And one thing I didn't mention is, along with being able to flip up, you can also rotate these completely 360 on this socket that's right here. I don't know when you'd end up needing to do that, but it's nice that you can. They just fold down and lock into position. You get this piece that's going to lock into the shoulder joint. You get some mobility in this part of the shoulder here, and then you get this part here, which is going to slide out. It doesn't slide out a whole lot, but it gives you some separation into that part. It just slides back together. I like all the form-fitting decals that they did include. I am glad that I have the water slides to go on this though, because I hate stickers. So that's going to be your shoulders. Taking a look at the legs here, you have this piece here that is fully movable. You've got the vernier that's right there. You've got these verniers that you get a little bit of movement in this way, but once the foot's on there, you can't move it that much. It kind of locks into there to complete that seam line. I do want to come along here with a panel line scriber and hit that, because the panel line that's across here is super soft. But I also know there's some photo etching that goes into these pieces here. So once we get that all open, we're going to take a look at that. There is good mobility both in this, I guess it's a shin cover is what you want to end up calling it, but it also does lock in. So you see how that movement is, and once it's out, you get all this mobility, and then it locks in. In the knees, you get a nice double joint on here. So you get 1, 2, you get a lot of flexibility. And if you wanted to shave this down back here, you could get even more bend, but I don't see why you would even need to do that. All the details are super crisp. I like these little, just these little pops of differential color that's in here. You get the metallics for the decals that are on the legs. You get pistons up in here. You get little hosings and cables that you can see in there. I think they went above and beyond on this, and I'm pretty sure this is going to be in my top 5 for 2018. Now, taking a look at my favorite section, the crotch. So you get some mobility that's in here for flexibility, and thanks to Mecha Gaiatsu, I ended up learning that there is a piece that's up in here that I can't seem to pop this loose right now, but if you check out his video on here, if you look, you can see there's a little slot in there where this can go up and down, and there's a little peg that's preventing it from doing so. If you clip that little peg off, you'll be able to get some flexibility up and down in this section here to give it more ab crunch if you want to do so. You push that together to lock that. These pieces right here, you'll see this little bracket, they will actually move so you can get some flexibility on that. Fold up and twist to give you a lot of flexibility on these front skirts. On the side skirts, they're going to flip up and they're going to be able to pivot like this. You've got the separation on here with metal accents from the decals, and you've got Verners on the underside, which are going to get replaced with metal ones, but you just pop that up and down. Same on the other side. Taking a look at the butt, and she's got a big butt on here. So you have the, I guess it's a venting system that they ended up doing. Ignore the crappy panel lining smear that's on here. If I'm honest, this was actually built while my leg was broken and I was stuck on the couch, so I'm going to use that as an excuse. But I love all the detailing that's on here. You have all these little vents and pieces that's in here, little hosings, everything else. You do get some metal decals that go in here to give it some accent. You get a thruster piece here, some stuff here. Some of these pieces are going to get replaced with the metal etchings when we get to those. These just close down, and you close down. You do get a little mobility on the butt flap here, but if you clip that where you can actually position this up and down a little bit, it'll give you more mobility on here if you need it. Taking a look at the chest, I really like the color on here. If you guys can tell, you have a dark red here and then a different red here along with the yellow. You've got these little vents. Do be careful when you're building these that you don't bend these. It's very easy to do. You get nice hosing details for underneath the chin on there, for the head. I think it's just really well done. You've got some mobility on the head there. You've got the chin piece has some mobility up and down if you need it on there. You've got the mono eye, and you can, if you needed to, rotate that 360 degrees, but you really want to watch that chin piece that doesn't get caught on the collar. On these shoulder joints, they were fairly simple to build, but you do want to be careful because there is really only one point that attaches, which is right down here. You do get up, down, but it's really easy to overstress that joint, so just be cautious with that. As you can see, you've got some metal decals from foils that are on there, and I think this thing is going to look sick once we put the metal parts on here and then we get all primed up, and hey, maybe I'll get off my lazy ass and paint it. All right, and here is the backpack. You've got some Verners that are on here. You of course got the fuel pods. You do get some mobility on here, and they do seem pretty secure. You do get some good mobility on the fin funnel pods that are on here. They do open up. They don't open up a whole lot, and I don't want to force them. Sometimes, much like the master grade, they're kind of temperamental, because see, if you do them too much, you're going to pop them apart, which is what I just did. So yeah, if you force the doors down too much, it's just going to pop the whole thing out of the socket. But I really like, if you look in there, you can see all the little details. And of course, you had to have a sticker that's in there that's going to give you a little metallic effect. All right, and coming up on last of Dave's crappy reviews is going to be the fin funnels themselves. Now, these don't pop up quite as much as the master grade to get that tip to pop out, but it is pretty nice. You just pull it back a little bit and then fold down the doors. They do seal up really nice. These work just like the master grade doors, and then they're just going to pop into the slots just like that, and they do stay very secure. So what we're going to do, we're going to put this all together and give you my final thoughts. All right, first up, we're going to stick the feet into the legs, and these don't really attach into anything. They're going to go right up into there, and there's little spots that stop them from going too far, so you can't do a 360 with the leg. So you can get that kind of movement out of there and stop it. You could knock those pegs out to get more, but I'm not sure that you'd really want to. One thing that I haven't mentioned so far is this is very, very stable. I had it standing up in a couple of odd positions and they stayed perfectly fine. You want to straighten out the leg on that. So we're just going to pop these right into the socket just like so. Now, how I prefer to build the shoulders and the arms is I just line that up and just kind of push it with my thumb and then fold up the whole shoulder. So as you can see, you get a lot of movement in there, and then just carefully press it on there and then lower that down. And while I have it like this, you can see the difference between the one wrist that is pulled out and down and the one that is pushed up. Personally, I actually prefer the one that is pushed up, but it does give you a little more mobility if you're needing to hold the gun or something like that, or maybe for a little more of a pose, but I do actually prefer that pushed in all the way. Once you have that all together, I put my thumb right here on the chest and then I hold the backpack just like so. We're going to line up the peg, which seems to be nice and solid on here, and just slide it right in. Now, if you'll see on here, you have 3 little notches, and which correspond with the bracket that's on the shield, and you just line those up and it kind of locks into place. Now, it's weird. I'm not a super big fan of having the shield on there. You can swing it forward, you can swing it back, but it really creates that side to be super heavy. And I think Sazabi looks a lot better without the shield for some reason. I think it just looks slicker, and this just kind of makes it look lopsided. For the backpack, we have the fin funnels in there. You just line up with the back on here, and that's another reason I don't like the shield, is because if you bump it, it just falls off. So we're just going to leave that off for right now. So there's your top view. All right, so here we are, all built up and everything. Now I have opened up most of the panels and everything that's on this side versus this side, so you can see what the difference is. I think this looks really great as is, whether you put the decals on or not. And I had to put the little symbol on there because, well, taking a look at it from the side, you can see some of the separation that's on here in both the arm and the shoulder joints. You can play around with. I like them down a little bit more, but I opened them up just because I have the panels open on here. You get these that are on here, which kind of ends up, depending on how this ends up sitting, resting against the butt plate that's on here. Now, for extra stability, I actually end up spreading the legs a little bit. You can put those together just a little more if you're wanting to do that. And of course, on this side, I have the panels closed for the legs. On this side, I have them open. And you can't really see unless I do this when these are open, but it does give it a little more width to the butt plate. If I close that one down, you can see it just gives it a little more width. It does have that kind of top heavy, but the feet are so adjustable that you can just do away and pretty much do any pose that you want to, but you do still want to be careful because it can be top heavy with this guy on here. And then here's a look at the side with all the vents closed. Personally, I really like it most of the time with all the vents all closed up, the shoulders down and squared off. I think it looks really good. If I put the shield on to this arm, as long as I don't touch it, it will stay on there. And of course, you have all the weapons and stuff, which I don't have in his hands right now. That's not the main purpose. I just wanted to give you guys an overview of what this ends up looking like, all built up. I hope you guys enjoyed this, well, Dave's half-ass review. And if you want to see more half-ass reviews, definitely click that like button, leave a comment down below, and stay tuned because next up we're going to start putting the metal thrusters and stuff on here. I'll show you guys how to do that, and then we'll start doing the photo etch on here and going from there. I want to thank you guys all for tuning in, and as usual, YouTube, I will see you guys all in the next video. Peace out.